Welcome back, everybody, to the Teen Titans retrospective. We're going through every episode of the original Teen Titans. So if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an upload. We're almost at 700 subscribers, which is genuinely really cool. Thank you guys so much for all the recent support. It means a lot to me. But that's enough out of me. Let's get into the episode. This is Season 2, Episode 6, Date with Destiny, written by Rick Kopp and directed by Ciro Nieli. This episode might be one of my favorites. It's just, really, really fun. The episode opens and we are introduced to a new villain, Killer Moth, who is traditionally a Batman villain, one of the goofier ones from the Silver Age. Outside of this show, I only really know him from the Lego Batman games, where he has his classic goofy colorful outfit. For this show, they updated his design and make him actually kind of threatening, which I think is a really fun take. You wouldn't expect Killer Moth to be one of the more competent villains in this show, but he is. He's also voiced by Thomas Hayden Church, aka Sandman, which is just wonderful. He's plotting to take over the city or whatever, but his teenage daughter is in crisis because she's just broken up with her boyfriend and the prom is tomorrow. So she gets her dad to agree to help secure her a date for the prom, but she doesn't want to just date anyone. She wants to date specifically Robin. We cut to the Titans. They're pursuing this other villain who goes by the name Fang, and he's I love this guy. He's just a dude with a giant spider body for a head. I have an affinity for spider-themed characters, which there is plenty of, and yet I feel like Fang still manages to stick out just for having a wonderfully simple but also insane design. And he has kind of all the classic spider powers that you would think he does. One of the things that's super fun about him is just the way that he moves when he's climbing on walls and jumping throughout the city. His spider legs are running super fast, and then his human body is just kind of dangling and flapping all over the place as he makes his way across the city. It's just wonderful. I just love it. I just love watching him. Anyways, Fang gets away for now, but the Titans get called away because Killer Moth has shown up. He has an army of giant mutated moth creatures that are attacking the city. The Titans are trying to deal with that. Killer Moth then reaches out to the Titans and says, hey, I'll hold off my army of mutated killer moths if you take my daughter to her junior prom. Oh yeah, his daughter is named Kitten. I'm not really sure why, because cats and moths are two different species. She's voiced by Tara Strong, and she's just doing this exaggerated, annoying, bratty teen voice, and it works perfectly for what they're going for. Robin reluctantly agrees to take Kitten to the prom, and Starfire immediately gets super jealous. And then that's kind of the bulk of the episode, is that Robin is reluctantly at this prom with Kitten in order to stall while the rest of the Titans are searching for Killer Moth's secret base so they can figure out where he is and stop him. Starfire tags along with Robin to the prom in order to keep an eye on Kitten, as she puts it. And we get lots of wonderful comedic scenes of dumb high school drama. Starfire being extremely jealous, Robin just not wanting to be there at all, and Kitten specifically using Robin to be hey everyone, check out my new boyfriend, Robin. He's way cooler than my ex-boyfriend who sucks. Just having absolutely no subtlety with what she's trying to do. I'm realizing that describing this episode could make it sound really cliched and really not good. And they could have executed this episode very poorly just based on what the plot is. How Starfire immediately gets super jealous of this girl who Robin doesn't know and has no feelings for whatsoever, despite Starfire and Robin not being in a relationship and her not really having any claim to even be jealous in the first place. But this episode manages to pull off this dynamic super well. I think by one, it being entirely played for comedy. Although there is like an element of drama to the whole situation, the like relationship stakes between the characters like haven't really changed. Robin at no point throughout the episode is ever interested in Kitten in any kind of romantic way at like just not at all. Like she keeps asking him to dance and he's like no, until she like reminds him that her dad's gonna destroy the city if he doesn't. And as soon as the Titans like find Killer Moth's secret base and are able to begin stopping him, he immediately is like, okay, our date's over now, and like tries to leave. So although like Starfire is like extremely jealous in this episode, there's no cause for her to be jealous. So we're just doing comedy here. Like it's just goofy bits. And I love Starfire. She's wonderful. Like she has one of my favorite Starfire lines in this episode where Robin says thank you at some point to her and she replies, "I welcome you." I love her. She's great. And the other reason I think this premise works is the way they play up the like comedy angle of it with extremely wacky and like ridiculous animation. The animation in this episode is like top notch all the way around. Not just in like extremely creative and goofy weird bits, but the action is also really good. Chase sequence at the beginning of the episode between the Titans and Fang is like really solid. Lots of dynamic camera angles and fast action, cool and creative action beats. And there's some like fight scenes towards the end of the episode which are also really great. Kitten is also like consistently extremely obnoxious throughout the whole episode, so there's no like chance that Robin is gonna get won over by her, and she's like very blatantly and clearly and out loud using Robin to try to get back at her ex-boyfriend. So she's not really interested in Robin either. Towards the end of the episode, Fang shows up at the prom. Turns out he was the ex-boyfriend of Kitten, and so he's like, hey Robin, stay away from my girl. They get into a big fight during the prom. The other Titans eventually are able to defeat Killer Moth and stop his plan of unleashing giant killer moths throughout the city. Robin and Starfire defeat Kitten and Fang. The prom is like mostly destroyed, but everyone there is like, this was so crazy that we're like kind of okay with it because we have a cool story. And Robin ends up saving one last dance for Starfire at the very end of the episode, which is kind of nice. This is probably our first like big Robin and Starfire ship episode, which is why it's like, yeah, they're not a couple here, so like Starfire doesn't really have any claim to being jealous, but honestly that kind of adds to like the comedy of it all and just makes the whole situation more entertaining. And the way that Robin responds too, by just completely treating it like any other superhero situation, he doesn't even like really, I don't know, there's just something fun about the way that when Kitten's like, hey, you have to go to prom with me, and Starfire's like, who is she? And Robin's like, I don't fucking know. Like, this episode's basically like a parody of classic teenage like prom relationship tropes, which I think is wonderful. It's actually a very different approach to something like Danny Phantom, which does these types of tropes all the time and lets that like be the focus of the drama and stuff. Instead, this show's like, no, let's make fun of all that and still have wacky superhero shenanigans thrown in. It's great. It's just like a super duper fun episode, excellent animation throughout, and just great character moments by both Robin and Starfire. And a super fun like trio of villains that are all kind of connected, but in a more dynamic way than just like, we're teaming up and we're gonna fight you. It's the girl you like, her dad, and the guy she tells you not to worry about. Just like really great stuff all around. A couple other little things. This episode gets the Japanese theme. First time we've seen that this season, and I think this episode absolutely fits it. It's full goofy comedy. There is some world building stuff that comes back later in the show, established in this episode, like the introduction of Killer Moth, but mostly it's just a fun, goofy time fitting of the Japanese theme. Cyborg says booyah at some point during this episode. Another point on the counter for that. When shit starts going down at the prom, Starfire shoots lasers out of her eyes, which she technically shouldn't be able to do yet based on the placement of this episode, which we'll get into more, I think, next week. But I could be overthinking it because there's a lot of like goofy, exaggerated animation and weird things that happen in this episode that are clearly not supposed to be super literal. So you could argue that this is just like more of that, But we'll get into that more when we talk about the episode transformation. Otherwise, I think that's basically it for this episode. Super duper fun one, really, really fun villains, great comedy, great animation. Just a really fun fucking episode. I love Fang's weird body flopping around while he runs up a wall. Good stuff all around. But that'll wrap things up for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and once again, subscribe if you want to see more. We're going through every episode of the original Teen Titans, week by week, episode by episode. So hit the bell for notifications, find out when I'm uploading new videos. Yeah, that's it. Thanks again, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.